Good morning and welcome back to the 6 a.m. Club where we start our day inspired. Today I have a new quote for you that says, if you are tired, learn to rest, not to quit. And I love this quote because there's been times in my life where I've been so exhausted that I was tempted to give up. I was so burnt out that I thought there was no other way out than giving up. But I've learned that you don't have to give up. It is okay to take a break. You don't have to go in go-go mode all the time. There's another quote from Brené Brown that I think complements this one really well. She says, it takes courage to say yes to rest and play in a culture where exhaustion is seen as a status symbol. How many times, and I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, when we see someone at work and they ask, how are you doing? The first thing that comes out of our mouth is busy. And it comes out of our mouths with a sense of pride to an extent. What I have learned is that rest is something that we owe to ourselves. I used to believe that rest is something that I had to earn, that rest was a reward for the hard work, that it was what came after pushing really hard. I had to earn that rest, and I was so wrong. I also had a very narrow view of what rest looked like. I equate rest with sleep, and I was also wrong. I have learned over the years, and especially since the pandemic, I have to say that the pandemic was that turning point for me, not at the beginning of the pandemic, but more towards the end of the hard part of the pandemic. I learned that rest is something that we owe to ourselves every single day. That being intentional with our rest pays back big time. And I also learned that rest must come in different ways. It's not only about sleeping. And I'm very lucky because I can sleep through the night, and I know there's people that struggle with sleep, and I don't want to underestimate sleep. I think sleep is super important. It's one of the key ways of resting physically, right? And we should always protect our sleep and try to have a good sleep hygiene. But there's other ways that we can rest, and we should rest, like mental rest, right? Our brains are working nonstop. Not only our bodies need to rest, but so do our minds. For me, this looks like taking micro breaks throughout the day. I thought that in order to be productive, I had to go from one thing to the next all day without stop. And I only got to stop at the end of the day when I was going to bed. And I find that if I schedule breaks throughout the day, and they don't have to be like an hour-long break. They can be 5-minute breaks, micro breaks throughout the day. It just helps me, one, to slow down my mind, and it also allows me to focus better and to be more present in that next block of time. It just helps me to reset my mind from one thing to the next thing. This especially for me is important when I'm ending my working day and I'm transitioning to being a mom and a wife and a friend, right? It's important to have that break in between to say, okay, I'm switching here. Another type of rest is sensory rest. I don't know, but in today's technological modern world where we are constantly bombarded by data and vibrations and sounds and all of the noise that comes with technology, as much as I love technology, we sometimes need to take a sensory rest. And for me, the best way that I know to do that, or one of my favorite ways to do this, is to go out for a walk in nature without my phone. Another type of rest is emotional rest. We go through the day, especially if you are a people pleaser, like pleasing others, looking to support others' needs. And in the midst of all of what we do throughout the day, we suppress our own emotions. So being able to share our emotions with others, or for me, sometimes that means journaling, is a great way to practice emotional rest. Another type of rest is social rest. And social rest, it might come across as isolating yourself from people, but it's totally the opposite. I think that sometimes when we are experiencing burnout, when we're tired, we tend to isolate ourselves. And social rest is not about distancing yourself from others, but leaning into community and authentically connecting with other people. Not connecting because you need something from them, not connecting because you need to network because of you're trying to build your career, not connecting because of any other thing than just authentically connecting with others and leaning into community. Community is huge. I have found that community has such a great value in helping you become the best version of yourself and grow and everything. And I'm so grateful for the communities that I'm part of, like the Leading Yourself community, of course. And the last type of rest, and I'm sure there's more, but another type of rest is a spiritual rest. This one relates to the fundamental need of belonging, finding ways to become involved in the community or finding a greater purpose through either prayer or meditation, whatever your beliefs are great ways to practice a spiritual rest. For me, one way to practice a spiritual rest is also my gratitude practice. I think that's a great one to have in your ways of resting. So let me ask you something as we close today's episode. From all the areas that I share with you today, in what areas do you have an opportunity to practice more intentional rest? And we talk about physical rest, mental rest, sensory rest, emotional rest, social rest, and a spiritual rest. From all of those, which is one area that you believe you have an opportunity to be more intentional around your rest? And what is something that you can embrace this week to help you be more intentional with your rest? What is one thing that you can do this week? Again, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. It just small micro actions that help you rest every day in a way that it supports you to have your best energy and to feel at your best. Because when you feel at your best, then you can give your best. Okay, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. I can't wait to talk to you again next Monday for another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast.